Hi everyone, welcome to the part 3 of complete photo editing in Photoshop 2020. In the previous video, we have learned about the basic interface of the Photoshop, and in this particular video, which is the part 3 of the complete photo editing Photoshop 2020 series, we are going to learn about the file menu option in Photoshop 2020. So what are the different options available within the file menu? So we'll go through each and everything step by step. And if you have not watched the previous videos, please do watch them, and the link of those are in the description section below. And before we go any further, please hit the like button, and if you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to click the bell icon. That way you will not miss any video from this channel. So having said that, let's get started.
So first of all, as you can see, this is the document which we have created in the previous video or in the previous part. So over here you can see this is our document, so on which we can work. And over here on the top you can see there are different menus. So this is the menu panel. So over here, if we click on the file, we have all the options. We can create a new document, we can open the document, or we can create a new document from here as well. Rather than from home screen, we can create a new document. If we click on the new, it's going to open that home screen once again, and we can choose different presets and everything else from here. And then we have the option of opening, whether if we want to open any image. So suppose this is the image I want to open, so I can choose that image from my document. So let's say if I open this image, that image would be opened as a new document, all right, over here. And then we have the option of browse in Bridge. So if you just click on the browse in Bridge, you have to have installed a Bridge software. So in that case, that Bridge software would be opened. At this moment it shows that it's not installed, so you just need to install the Bridge software and then you can browse that. It's just like a file. So I have the previous version of the Bridge, so that's why it's not opening. So you have to have the same version of the Adobe Bridge as well to make this work. So let me show you what is the Bridge and how it looks. Adobe Bridge is basically a management software for your images and catalogs and all that. You can easily browse the images. So this is the Bridge software, all right, and you can browse any of the image and you can just open it from here itself. So if you just click on over here and just double click it, it's going to open in the Adobe Photoshop. You can see now this is open. So this is the Adobe Bridge software. So let me just turn this off, and then we have the option of open as. So we can open it as over here we can choose the open as PSD document, large document, and there are different options if you want to go with that one as well. So if you want to open something as a PDF, you can do that as well, Photoshop Raw, and all other options are available. You can just browse and just open. Basically it's same, but if for some advanced options you can use this as well. And then we have the option as open as a smart object. So at this moment you can see we have opened this image, but this is not a smart object. Smart object is basically where we can scale it up and scale it down, but it's going to retain its quality as it is. So it's not going to degrade its quality. So that's why we use the smart object. So if, as you can see, this one is now normal document, and if we just open as smart object and choose the like this image, you can see now this image is smart object. Over here you can see there is a little page like icon, so that means it's a smart object. And if we scale it down, like see, press Ctrl T, Command T, and let me scale it down like this one and enter, and then we press Ctrl T and then we'll scale it up once again and we zoom in. You can see we have not lost any quality. It was the same earlier and now it is also the same. But if we work on the normal layer like this one, and if we work on this, like make it smaller, if we scale it down and if we scale it up again, you can see now the quality has degraded and it has become very pixelated. Earlier it was not so. So that's, let me just undo and show you. You can see the quality. This is the good quality, but after we have scaled it down and scale it up, it has losses quality. So that's why we work with the smart object. So it's always recommended that you convert your image or any layer into a smart object before scaling it up or scaling it down, right? So let me just close it. I don't need this one. So we can click on this little arrow and we can close the document. And then we have the option of open recent. So all of these open, these are the recent documents or the files we have just opened. So those would be available over here and we can just open them. And then we have the option of close. So if we want to close this document, we can press this option, or we can press Ctrl W to close it. Or if we have lots of document open over here, like let's say this one, and if we want to close all, we can select close all and it's going to close everything. All right, and now we can go to home and open this image, and then we have the option of close others. So if there are any other document, that would also be closed. Close and go to bridge. If we press this one, it's going to close all these documents and it's going to launch the Adobe Bridge and it's going to go over there. Then we have the option of save. So we can save this document. So at this moment we have not done anything. That's why the save option is great. And if we undo something over here, then we have the option of save available. So we can press save. So save is basically going to override our existing file. But if you don't want to overwrite your existing file, you can select the save as. So you can press save as, and then you can browse wherever you want to save it. Whether you want to save it as PSD file or JPEG, you can choose from this drop down menu. So we have the PSD file, we can choose the GIF, JPEG, and all other different formats like PNG, etc. We can choose it from here, and thereafter we can press save. And then we have the option of revert. So revert is basically going to undo anything which we have done. And then we have the option to export. So we can export as a PNG. So quick export as PNG. It's going to export this image as a PNG. We can save it and browse anywhere and save it on PC. And then we have the option of export as. And in the export as, it's going to launch the legacy options or this new export as option, and from here we can choose different options. We can choose whether it's going to be JPEG, PNG, GIF, SVG, etc. We can choose from here. We can choose its quality. 100% going to give us the best quality, and if we don't want the best quality, we want to lower down its size, and we can lower down the quality from here. So we can drag it anywhere. All right, and it's going to show you the preview over here. And then we have the option to choosing its width and height. We can just customize it from here. Like suppose we want to export it as 100 pixels. It's going to adjust the height and it's going to be in 100 or 1000 pixels in size. We can scale it from 10%, 20%. We can choose it from here as well. All right. You can see how this size is changes the moment we change the scale. So if we change it to, let's say, 200%, you can see now the width is 4400, and if we go back to 100%, it's going to be 2200. And then we have the option of resample, and by default let it be automatic. So automatically it's going to choose the best possible option to scale it or scale it down. And then we have the option of canvas size. We can change the canvas size from here as well. Canvas size is different from the image size, so we can choose that as well. And then we have the option of choosing the metadata. Metadata is basically the image information like copyright and contact information. So we can choose whether we want to export all the metadatas or none of the metadata. So if we don't want any metadata to be exported, we can select none. Otherwise we can select the copyright and contact info. And then we have the option to convert it to sRGB or embed the color profile. So these are two different options. The convert to sRGB is by default checked because this is how you can save it or export it to anywhere and it's going to look the same. So you can use it anywhere on web or printing purpose or anything else, and it's going to show you the same colors like this. All right, and then we can press the export, and then we can browse the location where we want to save it and then press save, otherwise cancel it. All right, so this was the export as option, and then we have the export preference, so we can set the preference for the export as well, so that we don't have to select that again and again. So if you are just exporting the images as a PNG file, you can select the PNG or JPEG or SVG or GIF. So by default it's going to be that option selected, and you just select the export, and that's going to save you the same some time. And we have the ask to export each time or export files or access to a folder next to the current document. So wherever the original file or the original document is situated, it's going to export the assets in a folder next to the current document. All right, so you can choose that as well. And then we have the option of metadata, whether we want to export all the copyright information or none. So by default it's selected none, but you can select the contact info and copyright. I always select it because that's how I can identify my image. And then we have the option to color space convert to sRGB, or if you don't want to do that, just uncheck it. But I don't see any reason why you don't want to use this, because this works the best. And then we have the option of smaller file 8-bit. So if you have a 16-bit file, then you can lower down it to the 8-bit file, and then we can press OK, and it's going to just have all those options next time we try to export the image. And then we have the file export, and then the next option is artboard to files. We are not working with the artboards, that's why this is not available. If we are working on an artboard, then we can export the artboard to files, so where we can save it as JPEG or PNG. And then artboard to PDF, obviously we can export the artboard design. So if we have created some design in the artboard, we can export that to the PDF. Export for arrow, I don't know what export for arrow is, I think I never used it. And layer comps to files. So if there are different layers, it is going to export those different compositions to the files and different comps to the PDF. So if it has the multiple layers, it's going to export all of these to the different files. And then layers to files, so if you select this layer to files, it's going to allow you to choose the destination and the now and the name, and we can select the visible layer. So if there are any hidden layers on this document, so it's not going to export those, but it's going to export only the visible one. And then we can choose whether we want it to be exported as PSD, PDF, JPEG, and all other options are available over here. And then we can press the run, and it's going to do that. And then we have the file export, and then we have the option of color lookup table. So the color lookup table is basically an advanced color grading preset, so you can use that color lookup table for photo as well as for the videos. So we'll just learn about them later on in the course. And then we have the data sets as files, so I never used it. Paths to Illustrator, so if you want to work with the Photoshop and the Illustrator, Illustrator is basically a graphic design software of the Photoshop, Adobe, sorry, not Photoshop, Adobe. So you can just export that path to the Illustrator. So basically we'll learn about the paths in the pen tool options. And then we have the option of render video. So if you have created any video or edited any video in Photoshop, you can render that video as a MP4 file or other format. So if you click on this render video, it would start exporting that video. So you can see it's going to show you the options. First, you can enter the name of your video. You can select the destination folder. You can create a new subfolder. So if you want to export that into a subfolder, you can check that as well, and then you can rename that from here. And you can choose whether you want it to be as a Photoshop image sequence or Adobe Media Encoder. If you have installed the Adobe Media Encoder 2020, then in that case it would be available, but in my case it's not available. So I'll just go for this one, Photoshop image sequence, and you can choose the format as JPEG or Photoshop, PNG, and other options. And then we can choose their settings, so you can choose the quality of that, okay. And you can choose the size of the document and all other things, whether you want to export all the frames and all that. So we'll learn about this in the video about the video editing in Adobe Photoshop. Photoshop is obviously not for video editing, but this option is available. You can use that as well if you want to, but I don't prefer to use this one. So we'll learn about that in the video where we'll cover the video editing in Photoshop. All right, and then let me press cancel. Then we have the option of export as, and then we have the Zoomify. So Zoomify is Zoomify template, so we can template. This is a Zoomify something, some options like over here. So these are the customizable templates on Zoomify. Zoomify is a website. I know I never use this one. I don't know why, what it is, but it's something like that. So where we can export this as a template, and maybe I think this is a platform where we can sell that, sell our templates over there. So let me press cancel, and then we have the option of generate image assets. So basically, if you have the image and we have different layers, multiple layers over it, and then we can export those layers as an assets. So we can use this. This is basically used for the web graphic elements. So if you are doing web design, in that case it's going to be helpful. And then we have the option of share. So if we click on the share, it's going to share from Photoshop. So you can add some contacts or nearby contacts. So you have the option of opening these, like you can share with the Skype and other apps. So if you install other apps, you can share from there as well. All right, and then we have the file and then share on Behance. So if you have created a profile on the Behance is basically just like a Photoshop, just like Facebook, although social media, where you can just display your work on the Behance. Behance is by Adobe, so you can just display your work, and from there people can just contact you if they like your work and they want to have some collaboration with you, or if they want to just sometimes they even hire you as a freelancer and buy your images as well, or your work as well. And then search Adobe stock. So if you want to add some images on this image, so you can search the Adobe stocks. So we'll click on this. It's going to launch the Adobe stock website, and you can search for, like, if you want to place some let's say sunset image over it, or you can just search the Adobe stock for that purpose. And then we have the place embedded. So this is very important. Earlier when we have opened a new image, it was opened in a new tab, but now suppose we want to place one image over here on this document itself. So we'll select the place embedded, and let me open this image, and you can see now this image has been opened over here on the top of this layer. So this is how the place embedded works. And then we have the place linked. So place linked is basically it's going to create a link of this image on this document. So that means you can see over here on this is a link icon available. So that means if someone, let me just go for this one, and if I just rename it, let's say, or delete it from here, like if I just rename it, and you can see immediately it shows some red error over here. So that means this image is now no longer available. So you just cannot export this image, or you have to just relink it, otherwise it's not going to work. So basically linked is it's going to link with the other one. But if you place embedded, that means even if the original file from here is deleted, like suppose if I change it to something else like hashtag, and in that case it's not going to affect. You can see we don't see any red error, just like this one. Earlier we are getting this red error because that image is linked to its original location and original name. But if you change that, it's not going to work. So that's the difference between place embedded and place linked. And then we have the option of package. It's not available, I don't know what it is. And then we have the automate, so we can automate the patches and all these. So this is basically I have already covered this in a video. This is the Photoshop script. so we can just learn about this later on. And then we have the script. Script is also like image process or automate the process. And then we have the import, so we can import the video frames to layers and note. So this is option, also will cover that later on. Otherwise mostly this is not of no use for photo editing. And then we have the file info. If you want to see the file info, click on this and it's going to show you the file info. So basically it's the metadata, so you can see the name of the title, the author, the copyright information and all that. Or you can even add your own with the help of this one. So you can add the keywords, you can description and the title. So this is basically helpful when you want to just sell your image or if you want to protect your work. So for that purpose as well, it's going to be very helpful. And then we have the option of print, so we can press this print and it's going to open the print option. So we can select the printer from here, whichever is your printer. We can choose the printer setting and all that, and we can select the print, but I'll do cancel. And then we have the option of print one copy. We can print just one copy. And then we have the option of exit. So when you press Ctrl Q, it's going to exit the Adobe Photoshop. So this was the basic file menu of the Photoshop 2020.
So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any question or if you want to say something, leave in the comments, because your comments and your likes motivate me to make more and more useful videos for you. See you in the next part, which will be out very soon. Till then, keep shooting and unleash the creative in you. Bye bye.